Looks like. Hey, hey, hey. Hello, my friends. This is your coach for life, Rashma, back again today with another live interview. This week, I have a dear friend of mine, Shane Bird. Now, Shane here is from New Zealand, and he was born and raised in New Zealand on a farm. Well, he has served in the New Zealand Army for 6.5 years, and other than that, he's worked in a land for his whole life. And throughout all of this, his entire working life as a farmer, he has built resilience and overcome many obstacles in most of the trying conditions. And he is very passionate about helping people overcome unwanted behaviors and patterns that stop them from taking back control of their life and achieving living up into their true potential. So because in the past he was constantly struggling with his own self-sabotaging strategies and stuff, and now he has discovered that with his own internal programming, it was producing those behaviors, and now he specializes in working with people who have a rural background and are wanting more from their life. Right, so Shane, thank you so much for coming here.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Now, I'm going to be bombarding you with questions. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's all right. Let me have them.
That's the purpose of me having you here, right?
Yep.
So, tell us what brought you into this world of personal development?
So I guess you could say I actually had we had a friend used to come and run schools, bull riding schools at home, and he talked about going to a Tony Robbins event when he was a bull rider to work on his skill set and mindset and stuff like that. So that was the first I ever heard of Tony Robbins. And then, so I had him in the back of my mind, found some of his CDs in a shop, listened to them for quite a while. And then one year decided to go. Went to a seminar and just saw the value. Like I wasn't really even aware of, how managing the mind was going to change your life and all that. So anyway, went there and just saw the potential in it and thought, wow, this is amazing. So signed up for a whole lot more of his kind of stuff, looked into other sort of personal development stuff. And it led me down the road to coming across neuro-linguistic programming, which is where we met. And thought, oh, well, let's sign up for one of them as well. And sure enough, as you know, within the first 2 days of the prac course, it's just like it opens your eyes right up. By even the first day, but within the first 2 days, you're just like, wow, I want more of this. So finished the prac, signed up for the master prac, did the hypno, went on and just studied so much more of it, became more aware of what's possible. And then after doing that, did the old, well, having this knowledge, it would be selfish just to keep it to myself. So started posting stuff on Facebook, got people saying, can you help me? Next thing you know, I'm, filling up all my spare time during the farming at home at the end of last year was taken up with helping people, coaching people, and then thought, well, why not do this full time? And this is where I'm at now. So since January, been doing this full time, moved to Sydney. So I've been doing it out of Sydney since January, and really just loving being able to, give my advice and tips and tricks and techniques to help other people change their life so that they can move forward with that successful mindset, so that they don't limit themselves and hold back by, unwanted patterns and beliefs from the past.
Of course. And it's always like that, isn't it? For most of the coaches, because we go through so much in our life and we grow so much. And then there comes a time when you're like, I can't keep this to myself. I need to empower others. I need to transform some other lives. And that's exactly what happened to me as well. And so I suppose we have a little bit of similarity in that aspect in our story. Yeah. So you specialize in getting people's mindset right. So what is the right kind of mindset for people to be happy? Like I know I touched a little bit in your introduction about people are self-sabotaging strategies and stuff like that. So what kind of mindset is right? What kind of mindset people should have to be happy and live happier?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to what their definition of happiness is, and then what they have to be doing in their life to feel happy, right? So the common things I see, especially from the rural industry, is guys that aren't living up to their potential, people lacking confidence, negative thoughts, constant negative thoughts coming in and not being able to manage them. So I just really work on giving guys and girls the empowerment to be able to make confident decisions. Decision making was another one. So to be confident to make decisions and back themselves so they can reach their full potential.
Yeah, as you touched a little bit on confidence, it all comes down to that confidence and trusting ourselves, isn't it? So why do you think it is that people lack confidence so much these days? Because I work with so many people, like obviously I help people build self-confidence as well. And it's such a massive issue for people. Why do you think this is a problem of this current generation, let's say?
Because we're told we grow up told we can't do something. Don't do that, don't go there, don't walk over that street, don't go out at dark, don't eat that, don't do this, don't get that wrong, don't do this wrong. I mean, how many times a day did we hear don't when before we were 10 years old, you know? It's just so much don't, don't, don't. So we, subconsciously all we're hearing is don't, or you can't do. So then we're just like, well, I can't do that. So then it kills the confidence. It's just
That's
like,
true.
oh,
And then
doubt yourself.
people carry it to their adulthood, isn't it? Because you grow up like this. And then I actually was thinking this way as well. So all your childhood you have been getting that validation and getting that approval from someone else, and all of a sudden you go into adulthood, you're like, all right, you're gonna do it yourself, you're all yourself, and you're like, but I don't know, no one trained me to be this way. So yeah, that has a massive impact as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's like 18, see you later. You're on your own. And I'm not going to tell you when you're doing something wrong. So, but then you're like, oh, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Should I go there? Should I go this? So then you start doubting yourself, which then lowers your confidence levels. So then you're like, oh, I'll just sit back and be one of the many.
Yes, absolutely. That makes so much sense. Thank you. And so what does our like emotional state have to do with confidence? What do you think? Like your opinion on that?
Well, quite simply, like your emotional state is going to have a direct reflection on the decisions you make, okay? And then the decisions you make is going to have a direct reflection on the actions you take. And then whichever actions you take is going to give you some sort of result. Now, and then your result is actually going to build your belief. Now, it all comes back to the belief, actually. So whatever belief you have is going to determine your emotional state. So if you have a low belief that you can do something, you'll be in a low emotional state, you'll make low emotional decisions, which means you'll take low emotional action, which will give you a low result, right? Which will then lower your belief even more. Now, if you can believe, so build that confidence and believe that you can do something, you're going to put yourself in a higher vibrational state, which is going to give you a higher vibrational decision, action, better results, which is actually just going to build the belief even higher. So confidence is everything. You got to believe that you're confident enough to do it.
Absolutely. I like how you say it's like a circle, isn't it? Like you do this and then it just, when it's low, this is low, the other thing is low, and then like everything, it's like a circle. And if it's high, then it just keeps on boosting your confidence. So so it comes down to actually believing in yourself, isn't it? Like that's what it comes down to. And a lot of people think that there is this belief in a lot of people that they're not good enough. And I believe that media and what we see, is perfect. Kind of what has been portrayed to us in media and everything has a massive role to play with it. Like for example, ladies, there is a zero figure model every single day in the TV, and somehow your shape is not acceptable. You're not good enough. You're ugly. And makeup. People put so much makeup on, and they look beautiful on the screen, on the camera, and then you think, oh my god, I don't look as beautiful as her, and then like you start doubting in your own beauty, and then that's what happens to girls as well, right? So it's just so much I'm not good enough going on there, and media just fuels that, don't you think?
Oh, media and social media and mainstream media, exactly what you say. They put all the models, guys and women, in the ads. They, on Instagram, Facebook, it's just like you take a photo or a selfie, but you use the filter because you don't want to show your true self, right? Because what would people say? If someone judges me and says, oh, you've got a pimple there, or you got a, you're overweight or whatever, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to doubt myself even more, which is going to lower your confidence even more. So then you're going to be in a lower vibrational state to make emotional decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love how you put this together. It's like I'm completely coming from new perspective for me, and I absolutely enjoy, because I have my own way of looking at self-confidence, and I always like to ask this question to my guests that gives me a new perspective. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. So Shane, you had a viral video. It had like several thousand views, right? I loved that video. My audiences, our audiences may not all have watched that video, but you were talking about how people are addicted to the negative emotions. Now, for those people who haven't watched the video, can you please elaborate on that topic itself? Like, how are people addicted to their negative emotions and their negative state?
Yeah, so that was actually, I created that video after reading Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is so good. Like the way the brain works and everything's so good. But essentially, in that video, I just talk about how having stress and being addicted to stress, how you become addicted to stress. And quite simply, when we go in a state of stress, our body is like, right, I need to fight or flight this situation right now. So it releases a shot of basically adrenaline into the system. And adrenaline makes people feel good, right?
Yeah.
So no matter, like, even if it's just a short little shot, so we feel stressed. So for example, I used to fight bulls and rodeos. Now I would get that shot of adrenaline as soon as the stress come on that I had to go and do something. Now that adrenaline taught me how to fight the bull and handle it to be able to get out of the way safely, right? Now, so what that's doing is when anybody gets any kind of stress, your brain just goes, stress, I need to fight or flight, you need adrenaline now. So you get a shot of adrenaline so you feel good. And then you're like, oh, cool, I'm good for a minute, and then it wears off. And you're like, how can I feel good? I know what, I'll just have another stressful thought. And then it's another shot. And then you're like, oh, cool, I feel good, and it's gone. So how do I feel good again? Another one, and another one, till it comes just, then it becomes a situation where your mind unconsciously is just producing these thoughts to give you the so-called good feeling, but it's so short-lived. Like, it's just so short-lived, and you're not using it. You get this little shot and you're not using it to get yourself out of it. You're just using it to feel better. So it's the key is to use that shot of adrenaline to take action and go and do something. Instead of just going, oh, I feel good, I can now change channels. I can stop the Netflix, or I can go to the fridge and get another beer, or I can go and find another drug.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I'm his big fan. I've read, I think, 2 or 3 of his books, and I just absolutely love his meditations as well. Yes, it's absolutely life-changing. So you said something about, touch a little bit on how you get adrenaline, I can't speak.
Adrenaline.
Jesus, today I just can't speak. Anyway, that hormone, and then people just don't use it, right? I think it's also equally important for people to shut down, because, see, we get that adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
I don't know why. I'm not that bad. Just today, I don't know how I can't speak that word. Excuse me, guys. Okay, so that hormone, let's say just that hormone.
Yeah.
So when you get that hormone, right, and then, like, because our brain is so used to producing that hormone all the time, and then it's so important for us to shut down, because I also read a lot in books that a lot of people, like, we are in this stress mode continuously, we continuously producing that hormones, and like our adrenal glands start to fatigue, right? And then also, because we don't shut down, we start having diseases in our body, right? And so what do you think about, let's talk about depression, because depression is a mental kind of problem. And I believe that it actually comes from someone not being able to regulate their emotions, just indulging too much in negativity, right? What is your option in that? What is your opinion on that?
When I talk to anyone who talks to me about depression, so depression is just repeated forms of sadness or thoughts of sadness. So I just go, why are you having the sad thoughts? What's created the sadness within you, and where are the sad thoughts coming from? And I go to the root cause. As you know, everything's got to go back to the root cause rather than just dealing with the problem. You've got to find the pattern that's producing it, which is the pattern of repetitive form thoughts of sadness, and then find out what caused those thoughts of sadness, and then deal with that, resolve that, release the sadness that they felt in that moment, release the sadness that keeps popping up. So then they don't have the pattern of sadness, they can actually have the pattern of whatever they want to replace it with, right? So then, yeah, for me, depression is removing any kind of sadness. And why are they having that thought, the repeated thoughts of sadness?
Exactly, like people pity themselves as well, you know, like because they're missing something, or they feel like they deserve better and it's not happening. Their life is just not going in their way of how they want it to be. And there are so many unresolved issues, experiences that just causes them to be sad all the time. And as you said, it's addictive in a way, and there comes a point where the mind absolutely cannot regulate, and that state of being becomes your normal for people who are depressed, right? And that's why they cannot pull themselves out of them, because I think because they just don't even know what's wrong with you anymore, because this is your normal.
Yeah, and what it is the reason they get so caught in the downward spiral is because they feel like they've lost something, right? There's a feeling of loss. So then they start focusing on what they've lost, what they don't have, how bad it's going to be, instead of going, okay, I've lost that. However, this is what I do have. This is what I have. And putting your life in perspective, right? Like, I think it's 2/3 of the world live on less than $2.50 a day, or some crazy stat like that. And here's us complaining, spending $4.50 for a coffee. You know, those people could have one every 2 days and nothing else. So it's all about, looking at what you do have and then putting your life in perspective of the rest of the world. Like, just be grateful that actually we're in a country which is nice and warm most of the time. We've got a roof over our head and we're not scrounging for food out in the forest.
Absolutely. I liked what you said about putting it in perspective, because we tend to forget what we really have, how blessed we are, especially in this country, how blessed this country is, how good it has been. Like me being a foreign resident, coming from Nepal and being Australian citizen now, how welcoming this environment has been for me. People just tend to forget that, like how privileged and blessed you are to be a part of this amazing country and wherever you are living, right? But you just compare yourself to someone who's on the street. There are lots of street children all over the world, right? But children, little children, they are vulnerable little children, and like we just complain about little things that we don't have in our life. It's imperative for us to just always look into what we have and count the blessings. So absolutely agree with you in that aspect.
Yeah.
So let's move on a little bit towards the topic of peak performance. I know because you help people get into peak performance as well, right? You run workshops and stuff. So tell me, what is required for someone to be at their peak performance? Like, even talking about that just excites me.
Yeah. So peak performance is for you to perform at your best, right? And I'll explain it the way when I'm actually running a coaching program for preparing your mind for the rodeo season to coincide with the New Zealand season over the summer. So I'm going to put them through my signature system, which is you've got to plan, you've got to practice, and you've got to perform, right? Because if you miss any one of those steps, it's not going to be peak performance, right? And when you do all three of them, you become a champion. So in the plan, the first thing you want to do is create a plan, right? You've got to sit down and set the goals and create a plan. And it's got to have clarity on it. So it's got to be real clear what the goal is. And then you've got to commit to achieving those goals. And that's all part of the plan. And then you go to the practice stage. The practice stage, the first thing is you've got to have your communication right, which is your own internal dialogue. Or if you're competing on an animal or horse or whatever, you've got to have communication between you and the animal. But you've got to have your own internal dialogue going right. So the communication within yourself. So you practice that, practice. And then you've got to consistently keep that practice going until you've got such a conviction that you know how to do it properly. Then you're ready to go and perform. Okay, so when people perform, the first thing they've got to do is be able to compete, and you've got to have the courage to stay calm while you're doing that, so that you can perform at your highest level. So that's how I teach it in the sporting context, and it's not much different to business or life, right? You've got to have a plan for it, you've got to practice it, and then you've got to perform. The only difference with the life thing, in which I actually teach in the sporting arena as well, is you've got to remove the unwanted emotions and limiting beliefs that are stopping you from having the belief to practice and perform, proficiently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It comes down to that limiting beliefs, doesn't it? Just
always comes back to the limiting beliefs and negative emotions that you've stopped, that are stopping you from believing in yourself, like we talked earlier, having that confidence, so then you can go out and achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved it. Okay, moving on to next question. So this one is about motivation. A lot of people are struggling with motivation. And literally, I get so many texts from people saying, I'm really struggling with motivation. How can I be motivated in this time? Like, a lot of people ask me. So here, this is a public message for everyone, especially coming from Shane. So tell me, Shane, how can someone be motivated among this crisis that we're going through?
Through the crisis we're going through, or anything in general? Anything in general, really.
Okay.
So, motivation on its own is you've just got to find something that you love to do, or love what you're doing. Find a way to love what you're doing. So, the easiest way to have motivation is to have a job that you love and you can be paid for and you're really skilled at it, because then it's not a job, it's just a daily activity, right? Now, if you're not in that situation, you have to find a way to turn your job into something you love, or change jobs. Or your activity that you're doing. If you're playing a sport and you're playing because I love this. If you're playing a sport because mum and dad said, and you're not motivated to do it, tell them you don't want to do it and go and find another sport, or find a way to get motivated into it so that you love it. Because if you don't love it, you're not going to be motivated.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I didn't think about it in that aspect. It's a very nice way of looking at it. So, so in this particular situation where a lot of people are staying at home, have lost jobs, right? So how do people keep themselves happy, let's say? A lot of people just, like, if they stay home for a prolonged amount of time without having a productive day, like as in the working, people start losing enthusiasm or a passion for life. right? So, and a lot of people are depressed. There's a lot of mental health conditions rising in this situation, especially all over the world. So how do you suggest people stay positive in this kind of situation?
Well, racing out and buying boxes of toilet paper isn't going to do it. Look, it can be summed up in one word. People want certainty right now, right? There's so much uncertainty in the world that people just want to feel certain. So when the first wave of COVID hit, they all thought, right, I'm running out of toilet paper. I know what'll give me certainty. I'll go and stock up on that. They fill up their garage, but they still have all the uncertainty about their job and their kids coming home from school or being home from school, all that other stuff. So it didn't work. So the best way to get certainty in this situation is, what do I have control over? Okay, so, and the very first thing I would recommend is set a budget. If you've lost your job, set a budget. What is the bare minimum you can live on right now? And set a budget and work to that. And find out a way to meet that need to be able to live, okay? Because you've got to provide for yourself and the family first and foremost. Now, the next thing you want to do is don't just sit around with nothing. If you don't come out of COVID with a new skill, a new side hustle, or more knowledge, then you've wasted your time. Like, completely wasted it, and there's no excuse. Like, if you're just sitting at home watching Netflix, just thinking about how bad life is, it means you're focusing on what you can't control. So focus on what you control, learn something new, and set up a side hustle. And there's no excuses. I mean, everything's online nowadays, or I don't know what the percentage is. It'll be a massive, probably 80% of everything is online now. So set it up and get it going, because what you'll probably find is you might actually love that and become motivated in that, and you might not need that job when it comes back up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you said that you got to find something that you love. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I don't know.
If you do, like, sometimes people like want to ask me questions, like when I have my guests, and so that's why I'm just giving you an opportunity. If you don't, it's fine. I will ask you the last question, and then we can.
Okay. I'll have a question. I'll come up with a question. Oh, actually, what is the biggest problem you see in your clients, and then how do you teach them to overcome that?
Yeah, the biggest problem that I see in my clients is a lack of self-confidence. They don't believe in themselves. They are absolutely terrified of setting boundaries. They have no self-worth. They have no, like, boundaries. Like, they just say yes to other people. They are people pleasers. That is the main problem, and that is all coming from the feeling that I'm not good enough, and always looking for love and connection, because people have been like kind of hungry for love and connection for such a long time. And so when you get that love and connection from someone, you will do whatever it takes to keep it going in your life. And then this is how they have been lowering their self-worth, their standards, and just putting up with all the nonsense that other people throw at them, just hoping, just looking at that little connection with that person. And that's been a major challenge that I have seen in my clients and the people that I work with. And my job is to show them that they are so much more than just that one person who doesn't value them. Because if that person doesn't value them, then just go away. Like, you deserve so much better, and you're not going to get it until you're sticking to this current situation and your own belief that you're not good enough, you don't deserve enough. And I help them come out of all these limiting beliefs and negative emotions. And then they just become so empowered and like completely different person. I've seen people like, within 2 or 3 weeks, I have seen people like completely like speaking up for themselves and like, completely enforcing their boundaries. And I'm like, whoa, is that the same person that I first talked to?
Yeah.
So that kind of changes happen. And actually it's because of the neuro-linguistic programming that we do. It's very, very powerful. So yeah, that's what I have come across.
And it's kind of interesting. That's pretty much the same as what I see, right? So it doesn't matter what industry, what walk of life you're from. It's like people growing up not valuing themselves, thinking they're not good enough, or thinking they're not good enough, so then they don't value themselves. And then they rely on the external validation to make themselves feel good. But when they don't get it, they feel worse, right?
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, isn't it? It's the same problem, different industry.
Yeah, everywhere. It's human beings' problem, I suppose.
Yeah.
So last question for you, Shane. So what is the last message that you would like to have for all the audiences who are watching this video today?
If you've got a limiting belief about yourself, or you doubt yourself, ask yourself where you learned that. Who did you learn it from? And then stop being a thief and give it back to them, because you stole it from someone else. Like you weren't born going, I'm not good enough. You learned it from someone else. You can't just make that shit up on your own. You've got to learn it. So you learned it from someone else, from someone challenging you or someone telling you something. So whoever you learned it from, they probably want it back. So go and give it back, right? Don't be selfish. Just give it back to them. Let them have it, and then go out and live your life. I had a good friend. I remember Scotty Elliott. He drafted this phrase, and it was really good. The only reason you would value someone else's opinion about yourself is because you value their opinion about yourself more than you value your own opinion about yourself.
Yeah.
Now, why wouldn't you value your own opinion? Because only you know you. Only you know what's going on. Only you know what you've been through, and only you know what you can and can't do.
Yep. Very, very powerful, Shane. Thank you so much for your time and all this knowledge that you've shared today. And I really appreciate it. And for everyone else, guys, if you have any questions for Shane, you can always drop a comment. And I'm checking the comment right now. Sarah just said, love it, thief. I really like that. Josh said, great point and topics, brother. Gurmit said, so true. So yeah, a few comments there. So guys, if you have any questions for Shane, definitely drop a comment. I'm going to terminate this live soon, but leave a comment and me or Shane will definitely reply back to you. And Shane is friends with me on Facebook. If you want to reach out to him for anything, you know, you can just always find him through my friends request, or even message me and tell me how, if you want to connect with Shane, I'll be more than happy to connect you to him. And yeah, so until next time, all of you have a lovely time. Bye-bye.
See ya.